And welcome to another edition of XFeed. What's up? My name's The Schiller. I've been doing these streams for, well, a little bit, but more specifically this show since the beginning of January. And let me tell you, the amount of narratives, the amount of things of thinking, hey, this is going to happen in a timely fashion has absolutely not been the case whatsoever. And I am kind of in the camp that I feel like it's going to take even longer, to be totally frank with you. And we'll see, because before, if you remember, when we had kind of a long stretch in towards, well, I guess like all of 22 or maybe it was 23, there was all the speculation, the questioning of, well, are these collections just holding things off because of the market? And, you know, looking back to that, I think that no, that was the wrong assumption. It was just none of the stuff was ready. But now the question is, well, are they holding stuff back because the state of the market? Well, it might be. The amount of times you probably logged on X and gone through and seen people saying, oh, you know, Bitcoin's looking great, alt's not so much so. NFTs, oh, everybody's saying NFTs are back, and it's some are, but definitely not your bags. Of course, that's how it rocks, right? Anyway, let's get into the different stories of the day. Looking up NFT, of course, we still have all of the stories from last week regarding Trump, NFTs, yada, yada. But now Shaquille O'Neal is jumping into it. Shaquille O'Neal will have to defend some of the allegations against him in the Astrals NFT lawsuit. So if you guys don't remember this, it's kind of crazy. And I think one of the reasons why we have such a bad time within the space is because Shaq decided that he was going to sell some NFTs, the same as Dwight Howard, again, former NBA player, that were just, I guess, like characters that they wanted to sell. And so going over this article super quick, Shaquille O'Neal, Basketball Hall of Fame NBA championship winner, has received a split verdict in an NFT court case. The class action lawsuit revolves around the promotion and sale of non-fungible tokens. One of those stars, Shaq, endorsed the project named Astrals, which would sport his iconic silhouette and feature his likeness. O'Neal would allow the company to use his likeness, and it was alleged that the self-styled Big Artist Stall would endorse the sale of the 10,000 3D NFT avatars. The verdict in the U.S. District Court of the Southern District of Florida, Miami Division, was presided over. Okay, that's about 10,000 of them. Is there anything else super relevant in here? I mean, I guess we'll wait and see. It seems like the story just hit the news, but I completely forgot that this happened, to be totally honest. The amount of celebrities coming into the space, and obviously nothing really happening with the majority of them. I mean, I guess it is what it is. Yo, Atari, what's going on? Never forget the Shaq Xmas NFTs. And then when we're going over to the Web3 news cycle here, Ton and Telegram play a crucial role in Web3 gaming. OXX sponsors a conference. Web3 name service firm Unstoppable Domains secures something, and there's just aren't. I mean, it just not to be overtly negative or anything, but like every day we barely have any headlines. We'll get into it in a little bit, but the most exciting thing over the entire weekend was an alien CryptoPunk sold, which everybody's saying they think that they took like a substantial loss on, which could have been the case, could have not been. We don't really know. Deepak was the individual who had this one, and if you don't know who he is, he was somebody who just spent like insane amounts on NFTs. And I mean, even for his name, it was Deepak, which is like DEEPAK. And so if you type that in on OpenSea.eth, I'm pretty sure he paid like 50 ETH or something insane just to get his .eth name, which is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yo, Disclosure Crypto coming back with the Gary Network again. Good to see you, my guy. All right, over at Immutable, we have another game that's getting launched, Project Kaizen, and their official collaboration with the Bruce Lee family company is coming on August 22nd. Now, kind of having a little bit of PTSD here, where we know that for Muhammad Ali family, we had the Next Legends Boxer within Futureverse. So then for Immutable, this kind of feels like that variation of it, but this isn't going to be a boxing game, I don't think. But let's check out the video and see what you guys have to say.
Welcome to my dojo. What have you come to learn?
We're under attack. We gotta learn how to fight.
Before you can win against an opponent, you must master yourself.
Show me how it's done.
You must be formless, shapeless, like water.
Whoa.
Use your mesh type, but don't be limited by it. Draw energy. Now, it's your turn. Master movement, and then I'll teach you how to fight.
Okay, so I don't really get like what the game is supposed to be. The ending of that made it seem like it was supposed to be like a platform jumper, if that makes sense. I don't know why he screamed in the middle of that too. Yeah, Atari 100%. Yo, Shen, what's going on? What's going on? Like, I don't know. So, but I mean, for reference, like one of the reasons why I wanted to highlight this is the fact of, okay, so we just saw the Shaquille O'Neal lawsuit, all that other stuff, right? And you have these celebrities and people that have huge names, huge likeness, and obviously can end up bringing in a significant revenue stream. And it just, it sucks to think of how many people came into the space. You know, I think there's a lot of people that were out there being like, hey, you know, if you attach yourself to art collection or if you chill it, right? There was all these things about different celebrities posting on Instagram about certain things. I mean, even Lindsay Lohan was a part of it, but there's legitimate things, even if you're like, you know what, chill, I don't really find whatever that was that interesting. It's still a game. It's still backed by legitimate things. You don't have to worry about the, you know, the lawsuit thing that Shaq's going through. Like, it's just, I don't know. It feels like there was I mean, I would argue there still is a huge lack of the ability to onboard people that have something that they could sell for the likeness, right? Obviously, there's huge business decisions, people that need to create these things, but there was such a problem over the past few years of very few developers, most of them trying to charge an arm and a leg for certain things, not following through, very open space. We talk about regulation, this, that, and the other thing, but it's, you know, it's weird looking back to what it was and what we're kind of hoping the future looks like regarding a lot of this. Okay, so Mark Kavak is talking a little bit about the Prime token as it was at $26 and came back a little bit to $5.80-ish. So again, rather large pullback. Seems kind of strange in a way, where like they're kind of surprised about this because we've seen how many collections, right? And this is where I'm not really sure where, when we go over certain headlines and whatnot, and people have certain things to say, it's like, okay, are they just haven't been in the space for a while? Are they not educated on certain things? They like, were we just trapped in like kind of the hopium phase of certain things? Because for Prime, I remember looking at it and like the market cap before was like well over 500 million. And I was like, holy smokes, that seems absolutely insane for a game that's kind of, you know, still in its, is coming out phase like the right word? I don't really think so, but the like the earlier stage where it's talking within here how they have the upcoming where the heck is it? Maybe it doesn't mention in this thing, but it talks about how they're going to have more tokens that are associated with, because like Wayfinder is another token where if you stake Prime, you're going to have that, and the market conditions are kind of what they are. But again, on the timeline, people are going off about like tokens that are like 500 mil plus. I'm like, you guys need some like serious capital to keep that rock and rolling. You know what I mean? Yo, Hypnotoad. We gonna make it? I mean, I hope so. Okay, My Little Pony, My Little Pony. Do you guys ever remember the commercials back in the day or the show? Apparently, they're doing something with Funko Pops, and that's the reason I'm bringing this up, because to be totally frank with you, I didn't even know there was all these IPs that were doing NFT sort of things. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which we'll bring up in a minute, because if you remember, was it a year ago? Was it a couple months? The Chimpers collection was supposed to have a partnership with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. For whatever reason, that went to the wayside. Kind of the same thing with Pixel Vault. They were supposed to have a collaboration with UFC. That kind of went nowhere. And I mean, it is what it is. But it's weird to me to see, okay, like we have all these brands and Funko Pop things, this all looks exactly like NFTs, and they're still doing stuff. It's just with a different partner. And why exactly is that the case? Now, Star Wars is associated with a lot of things: Transformers, Space Jam, Harry Potter. We got Squid Game in here. But if you're a fan of Funko Pops, well, then you can check this out. And if we kind of look through here, Pickle Rick, $5 USDC Summer from Rick and Morty. I'm not really familiar with the show, to be totally honest, so I probably sound like a fish, but you can see these amount of different collections. And again, there's things where if you just, you collect it if you like it. Cool to see. All right. Moving on, the Carrot Protocol. This is my Pet Hooligan. Kind of interesting. The Carrot Protocol can transform your NFTs into playable characters. Now, this is something that I believe Futureverse is working on as well, but it's almost like Carrot is kind of announcing that beforehand, even though for Futureverse, like we have seen the video of the Bored Apes and then the Fluff World avatars. But again, the competition's out there, right? We kind of have this notion of, oh, we're like the only people that are doing certain things. And then you see another collection that's coming out doing something similar, and you're like, oh, okay, well, what's the differentiating factor? All my Pet Hooligan OG NFTs are queued up and ready to go this month. The Carrot Protocol allows the importation of 3D digital collectibles and their metadata into a gaming engine and the assembly of such assets for use in any given game or experience they are called on. So again, as we get down here, like within the space, remember, you're going to be able to pick like an avatar and just be known for it or recognized as it across every single platform. The open and flexible nature of My Pet Hooligan application allows their on-chain collectibles to be able to be spun up on a range of distribution platforms, including Epic, Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox. Their system also allows for reciprocity to be maintained across all. Reciprocity. What the hell does that mean? The new My Pet Hooligan game build available on Epic will be presented at PAX West, Seattle on the 30th of August. PAX West is the largest consumer-facing gaming convention in the United States, with an expected attendance of around 100,000 this year. So again, that's cool that they have this. I'm somebody that's kind of like negative around some of these like in-person events because I don't know like the impact they actually have. It sounds like good for metrics. You have people out there, a team has a good time going on a little bit of a trip and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I guess like the Web3 variations going into these things or the Web3 facing ones is very good to see. And so this was what I was mentioning a moment ago about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collab with Chimpers. It was just kind of getting brought back up here, and I guess some Chimpers got swept over the weekend, which was cool to see. But again, we're seeing a lot of narratives about things of what collection's best, what collection's undervalued, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody's got a wildly different take. The only thing that I think that we don't have a wildly different take on is it's kind of funny for collections that do have kind of a higher price for them that the utility for them is getting like 50% off of on a comic. But that's okay. Listen, that's totally fine. We talked a little bit about this comic before, and the other notion to this, which I'm starting to see a little bit brought up more often, and I've kind of tried to champion the thought from it, but I guess maybe we don't talk about it too much, is the fact of a lot of these teams, you have to remember that they sold things for, $50 to $100 to sometimes $250 to $300, and on the secondary markets, those things have gone wild, upwards of like $1,000 to $2,000 plus. Royalties have become a huge issue, et cetera, et cetera. And so what do we consider? Like if we're out there and we bought something, right? Let's say we bought an NFT for $2,000. We sort of have the expectation of like, oh yeah, we should get stuff for free because we paid that much for it. But it's like, I mean, like technically if you did have royalties on that, you probably paid like $50 on the royalties or whatever it happened to be for that purchase that went to the team. But again, originally, where are they getting those extra funding from? Is there VCs involved? How much does it cost for them? Yada, 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 yada. Still the best collection in existence. Talking about heads. If you don't know what heads are, these are the Matt Fury NFTs. If you know Pepe the Frog, he created those. These ones are still going for a decent amount, to be totally honest. There's 1,000 of them, but they're at 1.39 ETH right now. Some very, very different ones. There was one that was called like the Root King or something before that I was looking at, but I was like, this is several $1,000s. Absolutely not today. Guild of Guardian. So I wanted to save this because this was actually an ad that came up across my X feed today, and it's wild. If you know what the original Guild of Guardians looked like, it was a kind of mini dungeon crawler in a way where you were going around. It kind of had like the feel of Diablo, but you had to like actually use some different movements and whatnot, and they turned it into kind of a stationary turn-based game. like this, and it's just, I don't know, it's crazy how like within a year they were able to completely revamp the style of what it looked like. But curious to see again the traction for Guilty Guardians as it's now fully launched. Okay, talking a little bit about Futureverse and Fluff World, they posted this the other day. I don't think it got the attention it deserved, but we've now enabled players to log into the game with their main Future Pass and seamlessly access and use digital collectibles from combined wallets. This is the first time it's been implemented in a Futureverse experience, but it won't be the last. So very, very cool to see that component of it. We got some news over from Arcadia as well. They posted one of the pinball machines, and just going down here a little bit to the latter part. Cool that they're working on some of these retro games that are out there. Now, one of the cool things with everything with Futureverse is that we're able to see things happen within the, I guess, like initial phasing of things, right? Because when you see Ethereum or Solana, most of the times you're probably like, I know I wasn't in the space for a couple of you. Okay, bravo, you were early. Yes, you were there. But we get to kind of see the rollout of things and see everything kind of happen within real time. And so one of the components of that is one of the games that's coming to Futureverse in Zertmon. So on the 27th, they are having their mint. It's going to be only for 24 hours. The price is 4,999 root. And the only thing that I guess I would say about this is it feels kind of in a weird spot because the community generally feels, okay, like root below 3 cents seems like egregious in a way. And so I've seen kind of conversations around the hoodies for the DRX merch that was the Futureverse one, and those ones are being upwards of like 40,000 root. And then for Zertmon here at 4,999, you're like, okay, well, if it goes to half of that, well, holy smokes, that's going to be a lot of cash. But the question is, how long does root move for? Are you going to enjoy the games? Does it really matter about that? Are we looking too much on a long scale here? But some of the details about this, there are 20 different base Zertmons evolved. After you level it up, every base Zertmon has 3+ potential evolutions, and same for Evolution 1. Every mint will also include a secondary NFT to help new players get started, which is cool. 66% for a security card equipment, or 33% for a mysterious trainer evolved. And the mint will be unlimited for 24 hours only. So this is the really interesting part with this, because at first I was like, okay, it seems a little bit higher of a price, but then if you're only having it for a 24-hour window, I mean, we've seen multiple collections, including Root Punks, where they sell out and people are like, oh my goodness, we weren't able to be at our computers for that time. So having this in a very, very limited window is very intriguing to me, because I'm wondering about the, the behind the scenes of what the decision for that was, but excited to see the mint. We have a grand visions and an extremely talented team working on the Zertmon game. We want to provide a chance for anyone who can also see our vision to participate before we take things further than ever before. And I kind of like this phrasing, if you will, because I think that it's cool to say, well, I mean, as someone who's really into everything to go on with Root, where you're like, okay, so there's games from XRPL, it's done really well there. It's coming over to Root Network. I don't really, again, have like a massive amount of knowledge about it, but we know that things are cooking. Obviously, Mo Meta said a lot of great things about that. And there is kind of a player base existing, and now we get to see it kind of coming over to the Root Network. And we know that the toolkit for everything within Futureverse is supposed to enhance these different games, these different experiences, et cetera, et cetera. And so if we kind of finally see some of these toolings apart from just trailers and whatnot for Readyverse, et cetera, and can actually see it a little bit more through Zertmon, I think that's going to be really, really awesome. So cool to see that, and best of luck for the Zertmon team. Now, a little bit of a highlight here for Silo. There was the token relations conversation that happened the other day, and there was a mention of Silo. And why I found this interesting is because on 30 Minutes Max a while ago, Alex kind of mentioned like, oh yeah, like the Futureverse community is going to get like so much bigger and it's going to happen like really, really quickly. And I'm like, okay, like where the hell is the catalyst for this? And I originally thought it was going to be like a game of some sort, but the way the TTK seems like we still have no idea when that's going to launch. For Readyverse, again, it's kind of like early access of the like end of Q4, early Q1, kind of a lot of the whole like unsure. And we've always seen within the blockchain space, things take a while. And then this clip happened and I was like, maybe it's not a game. It's an application that's around communications, community, and everything else. But I'll let you listen and you can tell me what you think.
New part of the Silo platform launching shortly, which I think is probably the first time I've spoken about this, where people will be able to go into that and create their own communities. and have all of the features that you'd get from a social experience inside of those communities, and start to introduce mechanics, community building mechanics in there, token gating content, all this kind of stuff. And so providing tools for community to build their own communities is a big part of this as well, and make that like social graph something that's portable between applications and experiences. And so big part of the idea of the metaverse for us is not just having ownable content, it's about owning the other elements of your metaverse experience, including your social graph and your social identity, so you can jump between different experiences and take your friends with you too.
So again, very intrigued to see what exactly is going to happen amongst that. We got another clip here where he said underrated alpha, and this is Crypto Eddie talking about the Root network.
Interesting developments coming for DeFi, and it's not just, you know, it's not so much the the stablecoin is going to help assist that decentralized finance to really be robust. But as I've told you, I'm very bullish on the Root network, and there is for sure a focus for Ripple, the company, to go after the institutional DeFi, and that's great. But what I see then is Futureverse and the Root network. If you have watched what's going on over there, they are building out the DeFi for the retail, and that's super exciting. So that has me give this whole ecosystem a lot of hope. But I think DeFi is going to be very promising, and I think it's going to happen not only with the AMM, but I think it's going to happen big time with the Root network and Futureverse.
And what's absolutely absurd about all this is the amount of people covering Root and whatnot. Like, I feel like we see like threads and whatnot, but if you type in Root network, if you type in Futureverse, if you type in any of that stuff on YouTube and try to like find it, like we have some videos on it. There's a couple others that have videos on it as well, but it's absolutely absurd for potentially what is going to take advantage of the XRPL and everything that's going on within that ecosystem with the mass liquidity, yada, 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 yada. You know, nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. Arcadia Pinball, finally a real game. Yeah, it's cool, again, because I think one of the things where there is like an ounce of nostalgia, right? So here, let me bring over my other screen for a second. So I'm playing old school RuneScape here, and I'm just running it on the side, right? And it's literally just a game, right, that most people would never play. But I find the nostalgia of it fantastic. And I think, you know, JW, to your point, if you love pinball, there you go. If you like the old school games, Arcadia is doing that. If you like certain things, you're just going to gravitate towards it. But I think one of the big problems within the Web3 space is not only is there like a lot of like brand new IP that people are trying to make something off of. So there's like, you really have to kind of convince people or have something that like gameplay looks amazing, yada, 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 yada. But it's just also a matter of time of people going out and doing things. So we can see Web3 ComicCon. If you don't know what ComicCon is, basically it is a conference, I guess, where people go that are into whether it be shows, movies, comics, yada, yada, yada. It's kind of been just like this huge social event. And I guess there's going to be a Web3 variation of that. And scrolling on through for their site, if you want to follow it, it's at Web3 ComicCon. But for the speakers, they have a cool list where they have Scott Herman from WAGMI Games, Bear Snake, Forgotten Runes, David Yu from Vivi, Elf from Forgotten Runes as well, Caitlin Burns from DC on Candy, which, again, Candy Digital is the ones that are doing the MLB ones. Sorry, not ones, but they're doing like the MLB NFTs, but also rocking with DC and some other things. So we can see a couple different players on there. Blockchain Gaming Meta.io, Satoshiverse, 3D, Ordinals, IRL Alpha. Oh, that's actually cool. I love that show with Began Bot. Block of Honor, Momentify. See, the lower we go down here, I was excited because I recognize the first few names, and they keep going, and you're like, I don't recognize a lot of them, but again, this is kind of one of the earlier stages for it. And again, over time, I think it's going to be much bigger and better. No one's talking about it because it's irrelevant. I tried building on XRP Ledger and it was successful, but useless when XRP community doesn't care about NFT. Yo, crypto, that is a great point because I've seen multiple times where there's been people from like the XRP community and they've like had spaces. Again, it's not like massive ones per se, but a respectable amount of people within there, and they're just crapping on anything that is trying to build on XRP, even though like they're XRP maxis on their own. It's like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Only XRP sidechain I'm looking at is Corium. Okay, interesting. I haven't heard of that one. And again, I'm not super familiar with the entirety of the XRPL, what's going on in that kind of range, except for the root network, because I found it through the NFT side of things. And it's weird to think of like the touching points as well from different things, because it's like, how does somebody come into something unless you have that brand point, unless a friend directly introduces you? Do you ever have like an actual need or desire for these things unless you go like significantly out of your way and kind of stumble upon it? Now, this one, this is a tough look. This is a tough look because I thought this was going to be amazing, but for anybody that has been in the space for a little bit, the LCK, which is the League of Legends Korean pro scene. In North America, it's called like in America, it's called LCS. In Brazil, it's called like CB LOL. In Europe, it's called LEC, but for Korea, it's called LCK. And they actually started doing NFTs to highlight players and just kind of sell them like your traditional cards. We've seen a whole bunch of different ones try to do that. Obviously, NBA Top Shot, NFL All Day, UFC, yada, 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 yada. So LCK's first blockchain project rug pull allegations. Recently, LCK fandom has raised concerns about a blockchain project associated with the LCK alleging a rug pull. This controversy has sparked significant anger among Korean gamers. Let's dive. In 2023, the League of Legends Korea, LCK, introduced a blockchain project named LCK Legendaries, which we highlighted actually at the time and I was super excited about, which might be familiar to the LCK viewers. The project launched its beta phase in June of 2023, attracting LCK fans who purchased NFTs driven by their passion for the league. However, looking back, it appears the project's founders lacked the ability to deliver what their fans expected. These founders had previously initiated a blockchain platform that eventually failed and their token was delisted following a secretive sale. Despite these setbacks, the project maintained a long-term partnership with LCK, benefiting from exposure during LCK matches for 6 months. The sales of NFTs particularly spiked after South Korea's victory in the League of Legends Championship. The subsequent removal of LCK Legendaries from the list of LCK's 2024 partners raised suspicions. Now, I'm not going to go through like the entire thing on this, but first of all, God damn it, son of a gun. You know what I mean? And then second of all, it's weird to think about that we are in a world where we can make a notion, right? And Crypto Rally, I'm going to use you as an example here for a second. You probably don't really know who Crypto Rally is. Probably an absolute fantastic human, but you don't know how they would do if they were running a project, right? But within the space, you can go and look at all of the major project founders and be like, okay, like what would that person be like if, or how would they perform if they were in charge of a collection? And you're actually able to see that. It's a little bit hard to kind of like stop and reflect for a second and see them what it's like. But I mean, for these founders, at the time before we can kind of look back and see what they've accomplished and whatnot, you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. They've had some kind of experience. They're building on this. They've gotten a partnership with this big brand, right? Like the LCK, for anybody that's like following the League of Legends scene, is massive. Like, again, they have, millions of viewers for their games and the finals, everything. Again, top tier teams that are out there. And it's just, it's wild to think like, okay, people have been able to nail these huge partnerships, and then it's just completely gone by the wayside, doing these secretive sales, all this other stuff. What in the hell? And so again, back in 2023, I was just trying to look to see if they had any updates. It says LCK support pack third sale will end soon. If you're still hesitating, sale ends tomorrow at noon, so don't miss out before it closes. And that's basically it. Look at the game Off the Grid. It's Web3 and on PS5. So we highlighted that a little bit the other day. I can try to bring that up right now, or at least we highlighted the fact that it was on the PlayStation Store. But Off the Grid, again, it is a Oh, it's going to be free to play. That's interesting. 150 players, PvP, 60-hour PvE. A little bit of a Call of Duty type campaign right there. So again, we're seeing a lot of different games out there. This looks like super like the one Call of Duty map, but I guess it's not. We're looking at that in a bigger photo. But again, we're having legitimate things happen at the same time that we're having negative things happen, right? So this is a game that's going on consoles. It's got 100,000 plus followers. It's completely legit. Right. And so it's like +1 NFT space. And then, yeah, well, the LCK NFTs, the platform's no more. That's not going to do anything. The founders sold out and it's just over. And then it's like, okay, -1 NFTs. And then we're at 0 again. And this happens all the time. It's unbelievable. So Ultra, which is another platform out there, is doing some arena league tournaments. They're doing a Magic Craft game. Haven't really heard of this one before, but I'll play this quick little clip of it. Again, looks... I don't even know what type of game this looks like, but it doesn't look bad by any means. But another game that's out there, we'll see the overall blockchain gaming adoption. What's going to hit, what is not. Now, it's a little bit of a different game because it's just collecting, but Disney Pinnacle seemingly having all the things they could ever want. Every single drop sells out. These are some of the open editions for Star Wars, which they had Leia, a Stormtrooper, and Mr. Darth Vader. Cool to see. But again, do we have any questions or concerns about things that are just collectibles? Because I would argue when you look across the space, apart from people that kind of bought the top of most of these collections, people seem that they're just enjoying and vibing out collecting whatever it be, whether it be Top Shot, whether it be the Star Wars or the Disney Pinnacle pins, doesn't really matter. But again, the only problems that I've ever seen is anybody that was in the market before when things went crazy and then overspent. And myself included in that, right? Like a lot of the things you're kind of negative about is just simply because of that fact. Okay, so this is absolutely nuts in my opinion. Justin, Dubai officially approves Bitcoin and crypto for salary payments. We previously had it where there was a couple of NFL players. I want to say Odell Beckham Jr. might have been a part of that. And I think there was an offensive lineman or something too, maybe even Tom Brady during the whole FTX stuff. But the point being is that it's wild to see that everybody's just like, hey, this is totally fine, cool, we're opening it up. And the question and the narratives around like the dollars. I was watching a video on Netflix. It was like a documentary talking a little bit about like the Cold War before yesterday, and I was like, holy smokes, this is wild. And one of the images that was kind of shown in there was a billboard that was basically advertising using the dollar instead of anything else. And I was like, damn, like obviously we're on like a system that works here, but like it's advertised that like, hey, you need everything within dollars. And then it's like, well, does that end up changing over time? Does any, people have different thoughts about banks, right? If they start supporting a certain movement or whatever, I saw something earlier this morning where there was like they showed it was like an RBC that had like just like the Pride branding over like the front door or something. And all the comments were like, oh my God, I'm switching banks. This is terrible. And it's like, okay, well, if people have that visceral reaction over like a door having like a decoration on it, like holy smokes. When you really kind of open up and you see all these different things that are out there, does this kind of move in to allow other forms than the dollar to kind of be prevalent? And I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty big step in that direction. Sir Joey highlighting the NFT Inspector, showing some different communities that are out there. I don't really know what to think of like the numbers on this. So like Bored Ape Yacht Club, they're saying there's like 7,000 plus people. Azuki's got basically 7,000 too. CryptoPunks are closer to 6. Pudgy Penguins 5.5. Mutant Apes actually pretty high up there at 8,000. Then Sappy Seals, Doodles, MFers. You can kind of see the different numbers on there. But it's wild to think that we are kind of like all these thousands of people within different collections. And currently there is nothing to bring us together, even though we're all like, yep, we believe in the digital age and the future of tokenization. There's nothing to bring us together other than having NFTs as images of our profile on social media. That's about it. And saying, hey, we're good buddies because we're both in NFTs. Okay, quit saying everyone posting about NFTs being back, but nobody posting about buying an NFT. True. Is anybody actually back to collecting, or are you just looking for an opportunity to unload your underwater bags? Ouch. Okay, but I kind of agree with this. It's weird that we're seeing everybody talk about like NFTs being back because there's a little bit of a bump in volume on them. I don't really see the point right now for a lot of these NFTs. It's still a huge kind of speculation game for the most part, and people just don't care about that anymore because anybody that has liquidity within the space generally has, seen the markets, ebbs and flows, seen how long it takes for execution and delivery on a lot of these things. And for some of these top tier collections, it costs a ton. There is a reason that we see platforms like Courtyard who's selling, Pokemon card packs and whatnot, and they're having massive success because it's not super expensive. The Doodles Adidas merch, it's not massively expensive, so they're selling out like huge. Disney Pinnacle with their different pins, again, they're keeping it where it's all this mass adoption, and that's, one of the narratives that have started to realize is that we're not going to see some of these hyper limited collections out there. We are seeing more and more things that are driven to that mass market idea and how to implement it, because again, it's going to be way more lucrative. You don't have to worry about these certain assets of delivering certain things. Obviously, we'll have the limited edition things here and there, but I think the whole NFT market is really going to be focused here on what the broader mass market is going to be, and we're going to see that with the delivery across the board. Loki the Bird saying, unpopular opinion, NFTs don't need to come back the way you think. That's what I just said. Chasing degens or the attention of a few whales isn't beneficial for NFT gaming or PFP brands. These people aren't gamers or collectors. And again, I agree that there's really, you might be a gamer yourself, but after I did that Project Dragon thing and seeing how many people basically said yeah, I don't game, I was like, holy smokes. Rising floor prices won't bring NFTs back. They'll just create another pump and dump. We're still early, but we are inevitable. Have some vision. And Elio Trades, he's a big crypto YouTuber. I actually haven't seen his video come across the timeline at all recently. I'm pretty sure he said something about doubling down on content a while ago, but maybe I just don't see him on my feed. But 6 years have been waiting for the types of games that we're about to get in crypto. Again, 6 years. Crypto gaming is finally about to happen, and it will fundamentally change this industry for the better. This is how we get 1 billion users. So I've been in the camp that I think that the video game industry is up for disruption. Obviously, we've had massive issues from certain studios. And I mean, for the esports industry as well, I think arguably that's even a bigger place to disrupt because there's been massive problems within that realm of things. But talking about 6 years, right? So we got into the space back in early 2021, had the absolute boom. And then over the last little bit, it's been relatively okay, there's things that are happening. This is cool. Okay, there's promising things. But I feel like for the most part, there really hasn't been that massive hit or the massive acquisition of people since that early 2021 days. Again, if you see most of the people that are out there that are talking about Web3 gaming at all, half of them got their following from Axie Infinity, right? For myself, if you look on Twitch, it's 6,000 plus followers, and you're like, hold on, chill, what the hell's going on? There's maybe 5 to 10 people watching the live streams. Well, most of that was back during Top Shot. It was a crazy time. We used to have 150 concurrent plus people, and it was, we were doing the pack rips, we were talking about the marketplace. There was a lot of people that were interested in the space, and right now it's just really died down because those things haven't come out to fruition. But at the same time, I think that if it does, when it does, it will be interesting and hopefully very game-changing for that. So as we open up the store, the show talking about Alien Punk ended up selling. This one is kind of nuts. 23.7 million it sold for in 2022. A lot of people thinking that it sold for less. A couple people thinking that it sold for more. But again, the ETH price changes, the market changed for the CryptoPunk floor, NFT floor as a whole. I mean, that is the question. What exactly are those prices that people are willing to pay? And I think at the same time, it's maybe it's a good thing that it wasn't disclosed what exactly that is. But that's going to be it for this edition of XFeed. Thank you so much for tuning on in. Again, if you want to give me a like, I'd appreciate the hell out of it. And if you share it with a friend, you are amazing. Disclosure Crypto, Crypto Rally, Atari God, JW, Mr. Shen, Divine Hypnotoad. Thank you guys so much